ESPN ran a two-part series on their website, ESPN.com, on unfulfilled potential and potential stats that could have been for those who missed a significant amount of time during their career. We're going to do two clips on those two charts that were made, but this first one is going to be in regards to the potential players, the unfulfilled potential as they put it. Real quick before we get into the graphic, there's a sneak peek, but come back real quick, Ja'Cory, because potential has always been one of the most dangerous words used in sports.
Yeah, it's potent.
Everybody, and I mean everybody, has potential to be the greatest of all time. Do you know what guys were never listed as potentially the greatest in their sport? Like Trout, Derek Jeter, Stephen Curry, some of the greatest players in the game right now, Muhammad Ali, some of the greatest athletes of all time, never had the words, well, potentially this guy could be one of the best. They actually get disregarded. So I actually really like that they did this unfulfilled potential thing, though I don't mean to just, poop on their word choices. But in general, it's a great talking point because these were all athletes in college, the use of the word potential aside, should have been transcendent athletes in the game. And it's only to American sports, so maybe we can come up with our own list for another clip one day on all world football players that could have been.
Interesting.
Or what could have been. So let's go back to the graphic, Ja'Cory, if you do not mind. All right, so this is the top half of it. It's 25 through 11, which includes the likes of Matt Leinart, Bo Jackson, the Mets Generation K. We're going to skip that completely. Tony Conigliaro, actually I'll have a really fun point on him in just a second. Aaron Hernandez, if he didn't get arrested. Vince Young, obviously taking down USC, but and guys like Matt Bush and Achilles Smith. But all right, let's start with I have a couple of these that I took some extra notes on. But the first one I'm going to start with is Matt Leinart because if you remember that USC team, you can pretty much throw Reggie Bush on the list also if you wanted to. That USC team was undefeated for almost 3 straight years. It was only one of the other guys on the list that actually stopped USC from ever going 3 straight years of undefeated college football, and that was Vince Young, which is still, I think, one of the greatest college football games of all time. But Matt Leinart was 4-7 as a starter in his rookie year when he came into the NFL, then a broken collarbone, and that was it. He was 3-2 the following season before he got that collarbone injury, and he was never able to bounce back. And a guy who was in an era of quarterbacks that were pocket passers, those who didn't need their legs to extend plays, it didn't make sense as to why he didn't become a great NFL quarterback. Potentially, at least some of the scouts were saying, not the scouts, some of his coaches said it's a little bit of an IQ issue when it came to it and decision-making. All right, real quick, we're going to move forward. I have to stop saying real quick. As for the bottom half of the list, Jamarcus Russell comes in at number 10. Francis, let's take a break. At number 8, will you tell me about Freddie Adu?
This list should be known as the Freddie Adu effect. Because
the Freddie Adu effect.
Because the one thing I want to talk about with potential, you kind of highlighted it, is everyone has potential. Everyone has potential to do things great. All men, as the term goes, are created equal. Some become firemen is actually the term I seen. It was really interesting. All men are created equal. Some become firemen. Really cool. Either way,
that's awesome.
Freddie Adu he was congregated by the media. That potential is, we need to take responsibility for it because. And by we, I mean like American media
hype
interpretation, the hype machine, everything that goes around with it. Because in the USA, in this specific example, they were just dying for a famous football star, dying for someone to come in and just take everyone back and be that American great athlete, but for the sport of soccer, which in terms of what Americans have done in the past to create great athletes, they expected this to just follow suit. Oh, he's strong. He's fast. He's got everything that you need to be an American star, but you fell away from the main thing that makes people great is the technical side of it, the training, the passion, all that stuff, which he might have well had. But in America, I looked into this a lot, is they've seen all the attributes which would have made him great in football, American football, which would have made him maybe great in basketball. I'm not saying you don't need technique in any of those, but these are the attributes that often allow people as athletes to stand out. Is if you see someone who's running by the track and he is lightning fast, many people in America would make the assumption he'll be a great wide receiver because he's so fast. He'd be great. Before even thinking about whether or not he's got good hands or whether or not he's got great game IQ. And the same thing happened with Freddie Adu. They just seen an athlete and they seen a young athlete and they assumed this guy's going to be the best thing ever. And now every single star that comes out in the world of US soccer, Jordan Morris, people just
assume, next Freddie Adu.
They assume, is he going to be the next Freddie Adu, which has now become a term, and that's what I mean by the Freddie Adu effect, or is he going to be an actual success. And the sooner that Americans realize that that's not going to happen anytime soon. You need to build your system as a competitive system first before you develop the next Messi, which I don't think you'll ever do. But it's because it's the culture. Messi grew up kicking a ball since he was 4 or 5, and he grew up wanting to be Maradona. Like, no one in this country grows up wanting to be Landon Donovan. That's just a factor that you need to understand. It's not me delivering a blow to Landon Donovan. It's just the truth. Everyone wants to be LeBron James. Everyone will now want to be, or soon they should want to be a Cam Newton, or they should want to be a Tom
Brady. You're telling me on this list that nobody wanted to be Matt Leinart or Bill Pulsifer?
You're talking about the Bill Pulsifer?
Do you know who that is?
Of course I wanted to be Bill Pulsifer.
It's a New York Mets pitcher. But no, you make obviously a great point because the Freddie Adu effect. First of all, Freddie Adu was pegged as such a great world football player at such a young age that he's now only 16 years old.
He was just
when he was conceived, they were like, this kid is going to grow into America's hope.
That guy,
but it never happened.
That guy has hit up more clubs than you have bars on Saturday nights.
Not Johnny Manziel, is he? Johnny Manziel.
It's I was going to say, but
because he wasn't.
That's what I was going to ask. Did he have the potential? One person I thought would have made this list is on that one good season. Tim Tebow had the good season. Now we need to scroll the chart. We've mentioned Tim Tebow on TYT Sports.
It's been like 13 days without a Tebow incident.
But with him, it's like he to me fits into that American stereotype. As he was big, he was so big to be a quarterback.
Praise Jesus.
Yeah, he fit in with that. But he was big. He looked the part. Maybe like he had one good season, and then he was tipped to be potentially great. Or some people who understood the sport were like, he's all right, but he had a good season.
The problem was he can't throw a football. He's a quarterback who can't throw a football. He was great with his legs. He could have been a running back, a tight end. He could have played potentially. Get it? Do you see my point here? Potentially could have been another position in the league, but he's stuck with quarterback. He was great at the college level because he was able to extend plays, which actually, if we go back to that top half of that chart, Jacory, if you don't mind, because I know you got it within you, all these guys that played college football, Vince Young, Aaron Hernandez, Matt Leinart, Bo Jackson played every sport, mostly baseball and football, though, professionally. Drew Henson, all of them dominant. Even Lawrence Phillips in Nebraska, dominant on the college level. Just never transcended to the NFL. A lot of it, though, by the way, even with these baseball guys, became injury problems. So the one I wanted to mention, though, was Tony Conigliaro, still the fastest ever in AL history, fastest player in American League history to 100 home runs. Also, the uncle of one of my closest friends.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and his brother, there's another Conigliaro brother who played for the Toronto Blue Jays. Both were amazing young talents. But then a fastball to the face broke his eye socket. I think it's like your orbital bone. It's like what Derrick Rose broke.
That's unfair.
His eyesight never returned in his left eye.
That's why
so
injuries play a huge. Injuries do play a huge role. There's a bunch of people that obviously don't overcome that adversity as well and don't bounce back. Tons of players in world football were prone for greatness, got injury worries. Like I don't think Jack Wilshere will ever be as good as many people assumed he was. He still plays with Arsenal, but he's injury prone.
That's why I feel it's not fair. Like, see, Matt Leinart, again, injury ruined everything. Vince Young, injury, kind of ruined a lot of things. Go to the bottom half of the list, too. Let's go back because, the first three, of course, are interesting in Marcus Dupree, Sam Bowie, and Greg Oden. Even Jay Williams. You look at Jay Williams, who was an McDonald's All-American in 1999. Dominant. If you want to look back at a great highlight tape, if you could ever find it, it's the 1999 McDonald's All-American High School game. Includes Jay Williams. Unbelievable. Averaged 20-6 at Duke. Went number 2 or 3 in the NBA draft. And then never could play because of injuries. He had, first of all, he had a broken hound dog, which is another name for a broken pelvis. Broken pelvis.
Oh, I get it.
It's an outtake from Ocean's 11.
Well, that's like Cockney slang.
Yeah.
It's a job,
I don't even know what Cockney slang is.
It's going up and down the apples and pears.
What does that mean?
The stairs.
Oh.
It's just something that rhymes. It's Cockney slang.
I like that. That's actually not bad. He also had nerve damage in his left leg, but he played through all that, I guess, in college. The nerve damage was an issue that he had for a while. And, Greg Oden is understandably number one because he was so dominant in college. But, Kevin Durant was second drafted on the number 2 overall pick. I'm not going to bore anybody else with more baseball. I could talk about Mark Pryor for days, though.
But I think to go back to the overarching theme about potential is I feel like it may be a little generic.
You have the potential
to be the best soccer analyst in the world. I will be. Because you know why? Because I believe that you're never the best. You're never going to be the best until you strengthen your weaknesses, right? Hence why, if you haven't already picked up, I talk a lot more NBA. I'm not saying I'm great, by the way, but I talk a lot NBA because I understood that my weaknesses had to be strengthened. You talk a lot of soccer. Like, everyone adapts and tries to strengthen their weaknesses. I do think that, like, there is no doubt in my mind that Lionel Messi was viewed as a potential star when he was very young. Viewed as potential, right?
So were 5,000 other young 8, 9, 10-year-olds every day.
Lionel Messi was also hindered by a growth defect, and he was diagnosed with, he basically was told that he won't grow that tall. This is going to hinder his chances. What did he do? He utilized his height, something that was viewed as many things as a weakness, and turned it into his strength. Steph Curry, very similar, worked on his outside shooting so that his height didn't necessarily hinder him.
But that's what I find amazing, that those guys weren't on any potential superstar lists.
I think Messi still was, because he was viewed as like, I think he was viewed as such a...
Oh, he signed on a napkin with Barcelona.
Yeah, signed on a napkin when he was
12.
13. So I think that he understood that if he was to reach his potential, he had to adapt to certain things and he had to strengthen his weaknesses. I think that's probably a great message that I would tell young potential superstars, is like, you're never going to be the best until you understand that your weaknesses are something that has to be addressed. You can never just solely cruise by on talent. Freddie Adu probably cruised by on talent and was probably told all along, man, you're such a good athlete, you're going to kill this game, but never really addressed maybe certain parts of his game that had to be addressed.
Yeah. All right, well, we'll be back, obviously, with the second half of this list that includes, like, the stats of players that have, like, missed a significant amount of time, like if Michael Jordan never retired, which we've done a kind of what if on, but they actually ran the numbers. If Magic never got HIV and stayed in the league. It includes some unbelievably interesting factoids, if you will. Comment below with what you think about the top 25. What guys didn't make this list that should have, and what do you think about the words potential? At Francis_Maxwell, at JasonRuben91, and at TYT Sports over on Twitter. We'll see you there.